Alright, how's it going, everyone? This is Anon. None of this is financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. Still got a bit of the cold going on, so you have to forgive me. Still trying to stream for you guys, but at the same time, kids gave me the plague again. This thing's ran through our house a couple times, or it's probably a different strain, but none of it's COVID. It's just, a cold. So, let's see. Let's get everything set up here. If this works. What's up, Jonathan? How are you, bud? Looks like there's two of you guys in here now. Let's see. That number grows. I was just saying that I got a little bit of cold still, so. Alright, so somebody asked me to cover CLOVE, which I haven't looked at in a long time, so. I remember when they ran. Had a nice little, run, and then it's been fading since then, so. Let me take a look at this real quick and see if I can make some sense of what's going on. Alright. Alright, so CLOVE. Alright, here we go. So we got Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street. So some of the big names are right on it. They hold a good amount of shares. Alright, so they've got 383 million shares outstanding. And they also have an additional, basically, 94 million in Class B shares. Okay, so the float is large. So large float on this one. Cash has gone up. Short-term investments, though, has gone down. What's up, Just Investor? How are you, bud? Yeah, we'll cover Tilray after this. What's up, Margoth? How are you, bud? Receivables has remained roughly the same. I gotta find a tissue. Hold on, sorry about this. Let me turn off my mic. Okay. Pop my ears a little bit. So hopefully that helps out. I feel like I can hear better now. I've got fluid in my ears, I can already tell. Just from blowing my nose right there. Okay, so what is this? Non-issuance performance year receivable. Margoth, have you ever seen this one before? Non-issuance performance. So there's bonds? I don't really want to. I just want to know what they are. Should probably not have gotten. There we go. It has to do with the insurance industry. Because I guess they're healthcare insurance, right? Non-issuance performance year receivable. Yeah, that one I'm not as familiar with. I'll have to do some research on it tomorrow. But that's interesting because obviously they didn't have that in the previous year and they got it there. So obviously that's going to boost their assets. Because you went from basically 950 million to 200 billion assets. But I'm guessing their liabilities are pretty high as well. Current liabilities, total liabilities, but then as they have, let's see. Does that match that up here? Not quite. Okay. So hit so large, there'll be a note about it. Okay. I mean, okay, so revenue has gone up. Operating expenses has gone down. Net loss has gone down slightly. As has the comprehensive loss, sorry. You said there should be a note about it. Oh man, that sucked. Sorry, I was needing to sneeze and I couldn't actually do the sneeze. I don't know if you guys ever had that. So unsatisfying. It's like the Russian, right? When in Rounders, KGB. What was his name? KGB something. It was John Malkovich's character. What was his name? Teddy. That's right. Teddy KGB. Nobody was there to help me on that one? You guys have seen Rounders, I'm sure, right? So unsatisfied. Paid this man his money. Alright. I mean, it looks like they're where they're supposed to be. As far as share price, I don't see them being severely undervalued, or it just, it's a high float. It's almost was it 900 million something market cap? It's not a small company, right? Let's see. I'm going to pull up Morningstar and see what they have as far as fair value on it. I'm just curious if ATER's changed at all while we're in here, but yeah, they're still at 415. Okay. Okay, we were looking up Clove. Clover Healthcare. Here we go. All right, so they've got a fair value of 4 as well, and the stock closed at 173. So if I take the screenshot of this for our friend who wanted to know about Clove, yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, they look like they are where they're supposed to be. Excuse me. At this point in this kind of market, a lot of things are, at lows. What's up, Hustle? How are you, bud? Really congested. All right. So let's bring this over so our friend who asked about Clove can take a look at it. All right. So Clove is here. The analysts say that this thing should be worth roughly about 406. Its closing price was 173. Interestingly enough, though, they said that the 5-star price to buy at is anything under 84 cents. Will it go that low? I don't know, but that's what they said would be the 5-star price. So that's like you getting in really well, getting a really good deal, essentially. Read the note. Makes sense that there's more or less an offsetting asset or liability. You were in Clove last year and got pounded. Yeah, I mean, I think if I remember, it was pretty much like everything got pounded down, right? Like that entire stock got hammered. That's still unbelievable to me. I'll pull up the ATER Morningstar report. All right. So, yeah, for Clove, we had it up there. Basically, if you can buy it underneath, 84 cents. There's the sneeze. Man, I need that. Thank you. Sorry about that. To recap, Clove, at this point right now, if you can buy it under 84 cents, that's a good price for it. Anywhere basically in this range or 4 to 5, you're getting a pretty good discount. Not great, but some. They said it's about 54% undervalued. So, sorry, I'm sick. If you're new here, or just joining in, still trying to do this even when sick. Yeah, I mean, Clove is what it is. They're a big enough company. They're gonna be probably fine, But as far as growth goes, there's a lot of dilution that's already happened on them, and all right. So we said we would do Tilray, right? All right. Tilray is the weed stock, right? If I remember correctly. We're going to find out in a second, but Tilray, pharmaceutical, right? Cannabis and cannabinoids. 17 countries spanning 5 continents. They have a market cap of $1.83 billion. Not a ton of institutional ownership at this point. 11% short interest. All right, what news do we have here? So I guess they have some. It's like almost like craft beer, but like craft weed. Interesting. Okay. So they've got a couple big guys. They're dipping their toes in from what it looks like. Like they haven't even gone over, 2% ownership. So these guys are very much dipping their toes, but they're not fully committing to this. All right, so let's see. Shares outstanding are about $500 million, so it's a very high float. All right, so this is where I guess they have 4 reportable business segments. All right, sorry. All right, so they've got a cannabis business, a distribution, a beverage alcohol business, a wellness business. So those are like the 4, I guess, things that make up their. So it looks like 70% of their cannabis products make up the total revenue. So adult use cannabis products make up the big chunk. Medical products make up about 10%. International, 18%. And the, I guess, wholesale cannabis products only makes 2%. So they've got Tilray, Afira, Broken Coast. Interesting. They also have, I guess, some beverages as well. So I guess they cover all your party needs. Oh, Sweetwater, I know them. Yeah, I've had their. They have basically like a vodka sodas and hard seltzers. Yeah, I've had Sweetwater before. I didn't know they made a 420 strain though, but I guess you could probably only buy that in a distillery or what are they called? Dispensary. All right, interesting. Never really dove into the the filings on these guys, so. Let's see how they're doing. They have a balance sheet somewhere in here. I keep talking about all their different products, but let me see some numbers. Okay. Okay. They are bleeding money. So, right. So they have an ATM going right now, which is why the stock has gotten basically pushed down. Basically, they can issue out shares whenever they need liquidity and whenever they need cash to quote-unquote grow their brands. We believe existing cash and cash equivalents and short-term investments and cash managed are generated by future together, blah, 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 and access to external funds will be sufficient to meet our domestic and capital needs. But yeah, they've been basically diluting down their shareholders to raise cash to grow their business. Sounds familiar, right? At least Ethereum doesn't have 500 million shares issued out, but Alright. I mean, at this point right now, it looks like they've got a $1.8 billion market cap. So, like, it seems to me like they're doing fine. They've just been basically, people saw, it was up here, I guess this may be what? Perhaps it was being, what did it miss on earnings here? -2, goes all the way down to $2 a share, gets run up to, was it 50 at its high? This is like 50 something, 60 something. So this is when it was kind of like squeezing. And then they basically, it sounds like they issued out shares, so they were just diluted on top of people. And retail didn't realize what was going on. So basically, since then, they've been diluting down and issuing out when they need cash. It looks like it had a little run here, back up to 8, and then basically just got pushed down. So they've got earnings coming up, so we'll see what this earnings is, but you basically have to wait till the earnings. It looks like it's just consolidating, might push up into earnings, then could dump down, you never know, but it's all going to depend on their earnings, what's going to happen here. But I mean, they're a big company as well. They're a $1.83 billion company, so those are not small companies. All right. I am snotty. All right, let me catch up on all the chats going on. All right. So Tilray, I met the pot company president at the Roth conference you all sent me to. Yeah, we asked you to go check out Tyrion while you were there. All depends if pot companies can get nationwide distribution, like retail settings, like Starbucks. Yeah, I mean, if they pass that out, then they'll make lots of money, and they're positioned pretty well to do that. So they're one of the bigger ones out there. So, but yeah, it all depends on the U.S. passing a national, like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and just remove all state, It's going to be difficult to do that, so not every state's going to be cool with that, but we'll see. All right. Shareholder perks, just investor. All right. California is where I live, basically anti-pot distribution and home growers and black market. Really? I would have thought it'd be easy to get pot in California. What's up, Shadi? How are you, buddy? Haven't been here since we got crushed. Yeah, I can pull up ATER if you guys want. Give me a second. There you go. Yeah, so we're down here now. Basically, they announced dilution. We still have a gap here. We have a gap up in the threes. Like, we've got plenty of gaps on the upside. Basically, this was the dilution announcement, and then they just announced they're going to be doing an M&A already. Is there concern we're getting delisted? No, there's not concern that we're getting delisted. They've got plenty of options at this point. It seems like it's basically when they stop having people that want to buy their shares like directly from them, and then all they have to do is just keep issuing out ATMs. That's usually when you start to worry because at this point they still have like private equity funds who are basically willing to buy the shares from them for a set price. And then, so they're not having to issue out an ATM and just dilute whenever they need cash. because that's essentially what happens with some companies, and that's when you start worrying, because at that point they'll devalue the stock so much that it will go out. So Ethereum's not there yet, so you don't really have to worry too much about being delisted. At this point right now, if Ethereum dips under $1, that's a pretty big steal as far as like that, because if you figure this, so hypothetically right now they have, let's just say, 80 million shares outstanding, right? And they go less than $1. So I'll bring up a calculator. So like, I think we're at 79. Let's just call it 79.5, right? So that's how many shares are outstanding right now, right? And then you go ahead and take let's just say it drops to 85 cents. You're looking at a $67 million market cap on Ethereum, right? That's kind of nuts, considering the fact that that's what the revenue is in one quarter. So if you do enterprise value and you take out the warrants and all that stuff, yeah, like you can see it being sub $1. But that's also because you're taking out everything that's basically the intangibles. And those intangibles are worth something. You can argue that they're not, but like brand names mean something, so do like a bunch of other, like, the proprietary technology, these are all things that's like, will they get full price for some of these things if they sold off assets? You can argue that back and forth. It really just depends on your school of thought, and I think they would probably get acquired before anything like that happens. So, and usually what happens when you get acquired is they'll settle on a price. Usually it's higher than what the stock price is, and then they'll just buy out all the shares and you'll become that new company. All right. Davor says, question about ATER warrants. What were the parameters regarding the whole 10% ownership stuff? When do they have to unload by not to go over? Can you please elaborate on that? Thanks. Yeah, appreciate the question. So basically, I believe if we go into the filings for ATER, let's see if we can pull it up real quick. Where is... Let's do dilution. All right. So here are the warrants, right? These were the ones that we got back in March. They were eligible in September, right? So they're here. And then here are the new ones. These are the 10 million. Now, they already got 10 million shares. So 10 million, I think right now they're still lower than... Let's see. Let's do some math on this. So... if we have 7950, it's probably, oops. Try again. 79500000, right? One less zero. Right, and we take times 0.099. So they're probably already over the 10% right now. Because based off this, if they got, for example, 10 million shares from Ethereum, and that last thing, now some of them might be pre-funded warrants and they haven't counted yet because they're not active. So at this point, they may be just holding off, but they have a good amount of shares. They're probably right around 9% is my guess. And maybe not all of them are active right now, and that's why they're not having to but they're not supposed to go above basically 10% of the company. Because if they do that, then typically let me see if I can find the wording on this so we're not just... Let's see if that's... Here we go. Okay. Under the terms of the pre-funded warrant issued to Armistice Capital Master Fund, the selling stockholder may not exercise such pre-funded warrant to the extent that the exercise would cause selling stockholder together with its affiliates to beneficially own a number of shares that you would exceed 9.99% of our outstanding common shares, excluding the purposes of such determination common stock, which basically they're saying right there, and then that they're not supposed to go over basically 10% of the company. And under the terms of the placement warrants, they may not exercise the placement warrants to the extent that it would cause Craig Halliam to gather its affiliations to exceed the number of basically 5% of the outstanding common shares. So Craig Halliam is the underwriter, and Armistice is the hedge fund. So the hedge fund basically went to ATER, or ATER went to the hedge fund, I don't know which one it is, and said, okay, we need some cash. You guys seem like you wanted the stock. And so they basically made a deal between the two of them. My guess would be probably Armistice approached them and said, I know you guys are in a tough place. Let us go ahead and take some of that pressure off you. We'll get you some cash. You just give us some of these pre-funded warrants, these common shares, and we'll kind of go from there. So, but yeah, that's where it is right there. That answer your question, Daver. Averaged down to 312 today. Congrats, you got underneath the warrant price. Turn on monetize. Oh, and Clove. Thank you. We actually covered Clove at the very beginning, but appreciate it. I did actually remember. And I did monetize, I guess. I'm pretty sure I did. But appreciate it, Dirty. Thank you. Dovar. Dovar. Or Dovar. Dovar. Am I saying it right? I'm sick. I like... I'm all hopped up on NyQuil. Davar. Nice to meet you, man. Alright. Shadi Rashid, many of us are still bullish on it, but to each their own. Yeah, and I was going to say, is upcoming earnings estimated to beat? Well, so they announced basically that they were projecting, and they gave a range, which was higher than expected, but then the next day they came out with the dilution news. So basically, overall, it was basically a loss. You gave away the good news, and so everyone knows what to expect. And then on top of that, you also diluted on top of the stock. I'm sure they're doing it to basically shore up the balance sheet, but it sent the stock into a tailspin because it's bad timing, in my opinion. I don't like the timing of how they did this. I mean, literally just a couple weeks ago, we were up in the threes. You didn't think you need to do this then? And what's your favorite part of the Full Metal Jacket movie? I mean, everyone's favorite part's the boot camp scenes. The boot camp scene is what makes that movie. The rest of the movie is okay, but most people's favorite part is basically Arlie Ermy just absolutely being an outstanding actor. And what's funny is he's not actually really acting. He was that's how drill sergeants or drill instructors are in the Marines. In the Marine Corps, you basically have three hats, or depends on how many. But we had three hats, and your first hat is basically your daddy. Your second hat's the knowledge guy, and your third hat is the hard ass. And so he was in that movie basically a combination of the one and the three. Like, it was mainly the three, like Third Hat, like, but like, you know, it's just a good movie. And I actually met him. I actually tried to buy him a shot, and he was like, "No, the guy doesn't drink anymore. He's not at the balls anymore." I mean, he was probably in his 70s when I met him. So, but yeah, he was a cool guy. Early Ermy, yeah. How he was born in 1944. 1944. Wow. Oh, there's Pyle. Oh, that's right. I was gonna say Pyle's in the 60s. So how old was Early Ermy when he died? Oh my god, I don't know if you guys know this, but like, I didn't realize that Private Pyle is the Kingpin in the Hawkeye and Daredevil movies. I had no idea. And Joker is the guy from Stranger Things as well. Vision Quest. I remember Cutthroat Island. Do you guys remember that movie? Some of you probably too young, but Gina Davis was in this movie called Cutthroat Island. Look at this. I don't know if you guys... I guess you can't really... Maybe if I do this there. But she like set up a bunch of booby traps for like the pirates, and yeah, I remember watching that when I was a kid. What year was that? All right. Anyone got anything else right now? Because I got like fluid in my ears, my sinuses are super congested. Probably just get some rest unless you guys have anything you want me to look at. Anyone? And are you 6'1"? I am not. Like, it'll tell you if I'm shorter or taller. Did you cover APRN already? I can cover APRN real quick. All right. So APRN had the massive push down, and that's because there's a lot going on with that stock. Best Marine movies go. I mean, Full Metal Jacket's solid. One that a lot of people don't think... Charlie, stop. Sorry. My dog. One that people don't probably know as well is actually called Heartbreak Ridge. Heartbreak Ridge was pretty solid. Yep. Clint Eastwood was great in that. Sweet. Charlie, stop. You'll wake up the kids. Knock it off. Let's see. What do you want? It's just a bird outside. I'm trying to think of the ones that I really enjoyed watching when I was in the Corps. A movie that I wasn't a huge fan of, but I did think it was pretty, like parts of it were pretty accurate, was Jarhead. So Jarhead was one of those like weird, like, it was not a great movie, but at the same time, the like boredom aspects and like some of the like funny like weird things that Marines do, it was covered in it. So I thought that was like a pretty, you know, was stationed at Fort Belvoir years ago. Saw a Marine colonel in Korea and Vietnam wearing a Medal of Honor. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, there's a couple guys that like, you know, it's you kind of see these older guys, and I remember being like just in awe of like they they still have like a visiting like place for the Marines that have gone through, and you can go watch the recruits train. And there was a guy that came in there that was a World War II vet. And I mean, he was like stacked. He was wearing like a regular like vest, but he put all his like, you know, he's like one of those Vietnam guys, but like he was really well decorated. So, all right, but yeah, cool. Let me do APRN real quick for who was our buddy that wanted to look at it. RT Vegas. Okay. So let's pull up what happened on these guys. Because APRN was looking great. But something that Fish and I had talked about today was I think we're getting bunk information from Ortex after talking to him. So I have Ortex, paid for the year for it, because you get a better thing. And it was, you know, one of the few tools that's like visual that, you know, people can look at. But one thing he let me know was that when he was looking up like cost of borrows from like an actual like $10,000 like, you know, like expensive thing, their cost of borrows are very different than the cost of borrows that we're seeing on Ortex. So when we're sitting here watching the cost to borrow and it's like 800% or something like that, it's not really 800%. In fact, it's much, 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 much lower than what we're actually seeing. So like, you know, we're seeing 70, you know, 80, you know, whatever, you know, percent cost to borrow. In actuality, it's probably more like 9%. So it's not costing them as much money as retail thinks it is. Like GameStop, most of the things on them are pretty low. They've been issued out like a long, like standing, like low rate for a bunch of these different stocks. And I think it's probably just them helping each other out, because the last thing they want to do is let retail ever win. So yeah, when you see like the cost to borrow, right, it's not as bad as we actually think, and there's probably more liquidity than what we're seeing on Ortex. So when we were sitting there seeing 100% utilization for a long period of time, it was more like probably 80. They've always had the ability to have more. Now, part of that is, you know, the possibility of other things going on, but for the most part, we're just not getting accurate information. So, like, that's part of, like, the problem is, like, we're sitting here as retail traders, and we're going, well, like, there's no way they can get out of this, and we're not getting correct information, because we're assuming that Ortex and Fintel and all these different, you know, things are correct, and really the big guys have tools that show them a much, much bigger and clearer picture of what's going on. And we're basically investing our money in this, and we're getting bunk information. So now the question is, how do we get access to those things that those professionals are using? Because they will only sell to professionals and to academics. So if like, but you know, hear me out. Maybe we figure out a way of becoming an academic institution or some sort of accredited thing where we could buy a license of that, and then all of a sudden have information that's a lot more accurate. You know, I'll figure it out. I just wanted to point this out that like when we're sitting here looking at Ortex, we're not getting right information. We've always known that, but it's like been confirmed after talking to Fish, who was playing with like data from, I won't say the source because I don't want to blow that up, because I want to someday figure out a way of getting access to it. But there's a couple different ones besides Bloomberg that are actually, if not more accurate, especially with their short interest and stuff like that. So, anywho, so with these guys, we'll do this. Okay. So, high risk, medium ability to offer. Historically, they've diluted in the past, and they have a high need for cash, right? Short interest is roughly, let's say, 22%. Institutional owners make up for about 28% of the stock, and they have a relatively small float. So here's where it gets interesting, is they're starting to run out of cash, right? So they needed money. So what did they do? They registered these November warrants, right? All right, are these old ones? These are old ones. Is this the one that did the... They still have an ATM that's registered. Yeah, so they issued out the ability to raise shares. That's right. So they can sell up to $15 million worth of shares, which will dilute the stock down. So this is where the huge drop came right here, because essentially what they did was kind of like Ethereum, where they said, we're going to dilute, basically issue out some more shares. And so they gapped down on this news, and they've been getting pushed down, and then everyone's obviously upset, and people are now holding pretty sizable bags. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm literally just saying, like, there's a lot of things like this that happen, especially in these small caps. And if you bought in this range up here at like $10, now it's sitting here and it's like $2 a share or $3 a share. It's the same thing what happened with Ethereum. When it ran up, we were all buying in this 5s, 6s, 7s, and now the stock's sitting at 1 something, and we'll probably push down to basically 1 or slightly under it. So that's basically what happened. Was there was some dilution at some point, though. You've got basically a point coming up here where this was the previous low. No, the previous low was down here, right? Let me see on the chart if we can draw it out. All right, so if we were to put in, I don't think anything's back here, so let's do this one here. Add drawing. We'll add a price level roughly around here. No, I need to go up, I think. That's pretty close, but I need to... Is that pretty close? Slightly off. Just make it wider. Okay. So there. This is what I would be looking for. I would be looking for a retest of the previous low, right? Which would be roughly around the low 2s. So in this stock right here, I would be looking for the market to crash, like the S&P, and basically you would probably break through or bounce off this previous low, right? So that's what I would be looking for at this point, because essentially it was trying to break out, it was starting to get some traction, and essentially they decided that they're going to issue out the ATM. Now, they want to use that ATM. They don't want to use it down here. They want to use it up here. So what they're going to probably do at some point is they'll consolidate it somewhere, gather up some shares, gather up some calls, and they'll push it up basically so they can issue out their ATM. You don't want to issue out the ATM here unless they've already been issuing, unless they went right away and were basically pushing out the ATM here, and now they're just going to finish up and then let it go from there. But that's essentially what's happening with the stock. Any other questions? What happens to a call contract if a stock does a reverse split? Usually you'll get some like weird, like non-standard like option that's like, oh, adjusted price. But yeah. Yeah, you should get some sort of non-standard adjusted price stock once they do a reverse split for like half the shares or whatever the stock split is. So Anon just ignores our banter just like that. No, I read it. I'm amused, but I just I'm just sick. All right. You guys have fun. Where are our sexy robots? Yeah, we need our porn bots to come in, right? All right. I ate them. All right. Well, you guys have a great evening. I'm going to go to bed. I need some sleep because I need to shake this cold. It's getting to me. It's in my head. I literally have fluid in my ears and like up in my sinuses. So I'm going to try to shake this and drink some tea tonight and hopefully wake up in the morning with not as much congestion. So, all right. Well, thanks for hanging out. I'm going to place a link to the Discord, as always, in the... if you stuck with us for this long, appreciate you hanging out, and I'll go ahead and put the link to the Discord. Come hang out. Thanks for listening to me snot into a tissue. Need more scotch, Captain. All right. You guys have a great evening. Sudafed 12 hour. All right.